Hi everyone, my name is Gabby and I'm with the Eventbrite Boost team, and today I'm going to be talking about the Instagram Growth Playbook, a little bit of context about what it is, and also how you can go ahead and make it. So the Instagram Growth Playbook is a campaign available on Eventbrite Boost that you can go ahead and spin up if you're interested in growing your Instagram followers. This kind of campaign runs exclusively on Instagram stories as a swipe up ad that sends to the Instagram profile of your choice, and then we'll go ahead and report back on your follower growth and project basically a cost per follower and what your social growth is looking like on Instagram during the duration of the campaign itself. This is wonderful if you are an event creator, a promoter, or just generally someone who wants to grow your Instagram followers to have more of an organic funnel of individuals that will be in tune with what you're up to and can keep up with your future events based on the stuff that you're naturally just posting on Instagram feed or on your Instagram stories outside of paid social ads. So the strategy here is really to have this kind of campaign running for a longer period of time so you can really tap into that social growth and just continuously get people to your page and have more of a slow drip of followers over a longer stretch, as opposed to having something, let's say, in a week or so that quickly tapers off once the campaign is over. Also, this campaign runs really well in addition to any other kind of ticketing campaign that you may run that sends specifically to a ticketing page for your Eventbrite event. And this kind of campaign doesn't necessarily need to run specifically when you have an event that you're marketing or that you actually are selling tickets for. The Instagram Growth Playbook can run pretty much whenever, whether or not you have events in the near future or a couple months out, or even further down along the line, so long as you're keeping active on your actual Instagram profile. So you'll notice here, this is an example of an Instagram Growth Playbook that is currently running live for a small to medium business. They actually have been running this since February, so it's been a decent amount of time as we're now, in the early days of May. So this campaign has been running for at least a month. Definitely, we recommend most individuals run this kind of campaign for at least 2 weeks, if not more, to really tap into that social growth on Instagram and get the most out of this kind of campaign. You'll notice that their spend is at around $15 a day. You don't need to be spending $15. You can be spending a lower amount, around $5 a day. Based on your budget. Really, we just want you to be able to be spending a comfortable amount so that you can keep this running for longer. But we'll go ahead and show you your Instagram follower growth and the actual amount of Instagram followers that you're gaining since you've started the campaign, in addition to the total spend that you've accumulated based on the daily spend that you input for the campaign. And based on your total spend and the number of followers you've gained, we will then show you this cost per follower metric. This is really great, once again, if you're trying to hone in on social growth and get a snapshot of what your growth looking like, and additionally how much this growth is costing you, and how you can really get into a groove with driving people and interested parties to your Instagram profile to go ahead and follow you. We'll be displaying this information throughout the duration of the campaign. You could always click this pause campaign button if you ever want to stop it and then resume it at any time or make adjustments if need be. But you'll notice that, like I said, the campaign runs exclusively on Instagram stories. So we'll go ahead and show things like the actual creative that's running, in addition to the performance of that creative, breaking things down like the cost per click and the click-through rate. But this kind of creative, like I said, it's a video asset. It's on Instagram stories. It's perfectly formatted for Instagram stories. And it has a learn more button that's automatically generated by our system and by Facebook. That will go ahead and swipe up to the account. Notice it's also saying it's coming as a sponsored post from the designated Instagram account. You will also select when you are in the editing steps of this playbook. So now that I've talked a little bit about the strategy and what this is, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can actually just create this kind of campaign. So now I'm in the creation flow for this kind of growth playbook that you can go into and basically just make the actual playbook itself, filling out all the details, making sure that you have all of the steps completed to go ahead and launch. The first thing that you'll notice here is the select account stage. The select account stage is where you basically tell us what is the ad account, the Facebook advertising account that you want to use to run this campaign from, and which Facebook page and integrated Instagram account are you using as well to actually signify that this is the Instagram account you'd like to grow, and that's the Instagram account that you'd want it to say it's coming as a sponsored post from. Remember that the ad account is actually tied to a credit card, so when you create this campaign, you'll go ahead and set that daily budget. The daily budget is billed to a credit card associated with your Facebook ads account because we do run these ads through Facebook Ads Manager. So when you're selecting the ad account in this step, make sure that you are selecting an ad account that has a credit card attached to it, that you are comfortable with it being charged for that daily ad spend. You can check all of these settings in your Facebook Ads Manager itself, specifically within the billing section. You'll then want to go ahead and select the Facebook page. Even though this ad runs just on Instagram stories, the Facebook page is actually what's connected to the Instagram account. So by selecting the Facebook page, we then have access to any of the Instagram accounts you've synced to that Facebook page. So go ahead and select the page that makes sense here, and then select the proper Instagram account if it doesn't auto-populate. If the Instagram account doesn't appear in this section, it just means you haven't synced it to the Facebook page. So you'll want to go into your Facebook page settings and actually connect your Instagram account to the page. And you should be able to select it in this step. Moving on from here, you don't really need to select the Facebook pixel. Vast majority of individuals won't even see this step if they don't have multiple Facebook pixels, and it's optional, so you don't need to go ahead and fill it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue. The next step in the process here is setting your schedule. So in terms of setting a schedule, you want to ask yourself, when am I ready to launch this campaign? You can have it set to launch right now if you want it to. So you go ahead and select the current date and time, and it would go ahead and run starting today. If you're not ready for this to start right now, you could still set the date as today, but save the campaign as a draft, and it won't actually run until you click launch. You could also set it to start running, let's say, in a week from now, at which point we would enter it into a scheduled queue of posts, and come May 11th, the campaign would actually launch. In terms of whether or not you set an end date for this campaign, we always recommend you select this toggle that says Run My Campaign Continuously. The reason for this is because, like I mentioned previously, this campaign type runs the most efficiently, and you really get the most out of it if you're able to run it for an extended period of time instead of cutting it off short for a week or so. This is going to be different than if you were marketing an event and sending people to the ticketing page, and you are, in a time crunch. The event is in a week from now, so you only want to send people to the ticketing page for a week prior to the event date. This is totally different because you're just sending people to your Instagram profile, and it doesn't matter if you have an event in a week or even several months down the line. You can really keep this running and just drive people to your profile pretty much at any point in time. And we do see the best results if you're able to keep it going for at least a couple of weeks, upwards of a month, if not more. You can always set an end date if you wanted to, but we don't recommend you set an end date sooner than a week or two in advance. So we're talking usually at around the 3-week mark or more. And if you set this end date, just bear in mind that any changes that you might make to your budget, you want to take that into consideration. If you set it to run continuously, you'll want to make sure that you're spending a comfortable amount each day to keep this campaign running for an indefinite period. But you could always go into the campaign at any point in time and click that pause button that I showed earlier to effectively stop the campaign and make sure it's no longer spending any money. From here, you're going to go ahead and move into the Design Story Ads section. Once you've opened up this section, you'll notice that as long as you've connected your Instagram account properly, we're going to go ahead and generate this vertical image creative asset for you that pulls from your 3 most recent posts on the Instagram account itself, as long as include this brief call to action to follow on Instagram by swiping up on the ad itself. You can use this option if you'd like, or you can customize it by clicking the little pencil icon, which would open up the ability to effectively change the images that you're seeing in this section. You can select other images from your Instagram account, up to 3 for this template, and then click Update Design, at which point we would change the template itself to reflect the images that you'd like in here instead. So it just went ahead and changed, but if you'd like to do other things like use a different template that only uses 2 images, or maybe one of these first templates, you can go ahead and do so. You can also use our design your own section to actually build this out in Canva. This is a great option if the design studio element doesn't let you get as personalized as you'd hope. Because this is really bare bones, it's not going to let you get really, really specific with certain design elements. So you could also natively design something on Canva within our platform and easily spin that up. We have a video on how to use the Canva integration, so feel free to check that video out on more information about this step in the process. If you don't want to use Canva or our design studio and you'd rather just upload an image that you've already created, you could pull that from your ad account library, your Facebook page library, or you could just upload it straight from your desktop. So if I were to pull something from the ad account library and then I click add selected asset, it's going to go ahead and change or add that image into my design story action. And then, at this point, I could go ahead and maybe just delete the one that I don't want to use, or I could add another image if there was another creative I wanted to A/B test here. So basically, test which image, send both of them out with my campaign and see which one does better. If you wanted to add a video, we do recommend videos if you have the means to do so, just because they're a little bit more engaging. They blend well with Instagram story native content, and they do tend to convert pretty well if you have a video asset that has a call to action and really just gets the point across. So if you click upload video, you can either upload it from your desktop or once again pull it from your ad account library or your Facebook page library. I'm going to upload this from the ad account library, and as you can see, I'm selecting an option that's perfectly formatted for Instagram stories. So that's 1080 by 1920. And this means that it's a vertical video. So it's going to be that perfectly vertical format for Instagram stories. I can click add selected asset and it'll show me a preview of my video on the right-hand side. Once again, remember that this is just a preview of what the ad looks like when someone sees it on Instagram stories. So it will have this sponsored banner that says it's running from the Instagram account that you selected in the select account step. It'll automatically have this learn more button at the bottom that Facebook adds by default that you don't need to worry about. That will swipe up to your Instagram profile. This creative itself could be better by having that call to action that says follow on Instagram and has the actual account name like this image does. It has a call to action on the bottom that says follow the music venue on Instagram with a little Instagram logo. But just so you're aware, you can go with either of these options, and we typically recommend you stick to 1 to 2 creatives max. Try not to go overboard, especially if you're working with a smaller daily budget at around $5 or $10 a day, which I'll talk about more in one of the next steps. But from here, once you've completed uploading your creatives, you can move into the targeting section. The targeting section is where you're going to go ahead and actually put in interests to reach interested individuals that may want to go ahead and actually follow your Instagram account. So this is where you may want to ask yourself, who are your fans? What is their demographic? What are they interested in? And what kinds of interests can I try and reach to get this ad in front of the right people? This is pulling from Facebook's list of targetable interests according to Facebook Ads Manager. So if something doesn't appear in this list, it just means that unfortunately it's not available for targeting, and you may just have to think about some other things you may want to type in here instead. If you're a music venue, let's say in Los Angeles, and I'm thinking about reaching the right people and I want them to follow our Instagram account, I might start off by typing in something really simple like concerts. That is just generally an interest for people that may want to go and attend events at this music venue. I might also put in, let's say rock music. If the concert itself books a lot of rock acts, I might put in the names of certain artists that we booked in the past or that we will book in the future. If I want to make sure we're reaching fans of those artists and those kinds of people. I might put in, let's say, other venues in the neighborhood. Not sure if this one, wonderful. So this one appears, this is another venue in Los Angeles that is pretty big and might have a lot of people who are interested in it. At the end of the day, you want to end up, with a handful of interests, let's say between 10 to 15 or so interests in this section that encapsulate the kinds of people you want to reach. In this section, I haven't really fleshed this out into its entirety, but I could go ahead and click +5 and add in some other interests. It's pulling in a lot of artist names. Maybe I don't want to reach too many of these artist names if, for example, they've never played at our venue or we're not actually booking them to play at the venue. So I may want to go ahead and delete them. And just see if there's anything else that it might generate instead if I click this option. So, now it's pulling in more genres. Maybe we don't have a lot of pop shows, so I might delete pop. And I might delete singing if that doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, you just kind of want to work with this. Make sure you're at a list of between, like I said, 10 to 15 or so interests. If you're someone like a yoga studio that hosts events, you start off by putting in the word yoga. And then maybe if you have like hot yoga events, you could put in hot yoga. You could put in other things like mindfulness, if you feel like that is encompassing of the people that might want to attend, or meditation, or you could go ahead and add in some other things like maybe people who shop at Lululemon, let's say. I'm not sure if that's going to appear, but that's also an example. A good example of something you might type out that may not necessarily appear, but you could also put in maybe another company in there that makes like, athletic wear for yoga, and kind of go that way. But you could always click the +2, +5 buttons, and once again, maybe just delete anything that doesn't make as much sense. From there, the next step is to select locations. This is going to determine where your ad is actually sent to. So think about it like you might be reaching fans of live music and rock music and concerts and nearby venues, but if you aren't specific serving this ad in, say, Los Angeles, it might send to people, let's say, in New York or Texas or Canada, at which point you're not going to be reaching the right people because they're way too far away and they're not actually going to want to follow you because they can't go to your events. So it's really important to think about where your fans live, where your past buyers actually are located, how far people are willing to travel for your events, and so on. Our recommended section will pull all of the past events that you've ticketed on Eventbrite. Whether or not you've run ads for them doesn't matter. We're just going to pull the actual ticketing events that you've created on the Eventbrite platform. And we'll actually pull all those events in here, plus a 50-mile radius of where they were held. So let's say Backpacking 101 was held in San Francisco. This means that it's going to hit San Francisco plus a 50-mile radius. The Death Valley Vision Quest was held in Death Valley, so it's going to hit Death Valley plus a 50-mile radius. I might take a look at this and say, I only ever held one event in Death Valley, or even though the event was held in Death Valley, my fans don't actually live there. They traveled to Death Valley for the event, and they actually live, let's say in Los Angeles. So I might want to go ahead and maybe remove Death Valley and then maybe add in another location that makes a little bit more sense in this scenario. Or I might say Backpacking 101 was held in San Francisco. I actually want to increase or decrease the radius. So I want to reach San Francisco plus a 70-mile radius, or I want to make it a little bit smaller and reach San Francisco and only a 10-mile radius. So you can be updating these things for any of the recommended locations in this section, removing, adding, changing the radius, and so forth. You want to end up with a list of locations that encompass, once again, where you hold events, where your fans are, and how far they're likely to travel for those kinds of events. If you are have more of a global presence, so let's think the events you're holding are not constrained by any location. That might be majority of online, virtual, or live streamed events. This is a really great option. It's going to reach a global audience, but we're going to have a level of budget optimization to make sure that your money is being spent well across all of those global audiences. If you are, once again, not gated by a particular location, you could also select this English speaking option. It'll go ahead and reach places like the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. This is a great option, once again, if you hold virtual, online, or live streamed events that you think primarily English-speaking demographics attend or buy tickets to because they are held in English. This is a great option to use in that scenario. The last that you can do here is select the custom option. This is really similar to recommended in the sense that you could go ahead and customize it, add in your locations. If I am a music venue in Los Angeles, I might just go ahead and put in Los Angeles plus a 50-mile radius, increase or decrease it depending on what makes sense for me. This is a great way if you want to get a little bit more hands-on with the locations you're serving it to just go ahead and throw those locations in this section. You always want to be mindful of your potential reach down below. This is basically showing you how many people you can reach with your ad based on the interest that you put up top. Let's say if I were a yoga studio, and the locations that you put down below. You want to be aware and really mindful of the potential reach. So it might get a little bit too small, in which case you may want to maybe add more interests, or if it makes sense, maybe increase your radius or add an extra location. For a lot of people, it may not make sense to increase the radius or add an extra location because you only want to hit people in the Los Angeles area, at which point you may want to go back into your interest section and add in a few more interests to get some more people into the mix. But once you've landed on a list of locations that make sense and 10 to 15 or so interests up top, you're good to move on to the budgeting section. This is where you're going to put in your spend. So whether it's $5 a day or $10 a day or $30 a day, basically up to you and your budget, but the vast majority of individuals, we recommend you start at $5 a day, give your campaign a week or two to see how it's doing, and then scale up your spend to say $10 a day if you feel like it's doing well. If you only have budget to run this for $5 a day for a couple weeks on end, you can absolutely keep it at $5 a day. No issue. But if you do have extra money to throw at it, still start at $5, let it kind of get its footing, see how the campaign is doing, and then maybe a week or two later, you could scale up to 10 or 15. So that's how you would basically adjust the budget. You can go and edit it at any point in time if you wanted to, but generally speaking, we don't recommend changing the budget too frequently, but maybe changing it, let's say from $5 to $10, then giving it a couple of days before then you maybe scale it up to 15 or 20. From there, you're pretty much done. You can review every step of your ad campaign, the select accounts, schedule, design story, ad targeting, and the budget, and then make sure that you are good to go. In the launch playbook section, you could either launch your campaign or you can save it as a draft if you're not quite ready to launch it right now. Either or, you will be asked to basically give a name for the campaign. So I'm just calling this Instagram Growth Playbook, at which point I'd go ahead and click save. Or if I wanted to launch, I'd go ahead and click launch. After that, you're all good to go. This is meant to be, really, really easy, fun, and hopefully very streamlined process. But from there, you're going to get set up with an ad that will hopefully drive people to your profile and help grow your Instagram following.